Hello students, in these slides I am going to discuss about the polarization of a light wave here by considering the light as a wave nature. Polarization, it is the phenomena of confining the vibration of a light in one particular plane perpendicular to the direction of propagation of light. You can see here vibrations are taking place in all directions. Okay, so in that only the vibration perpendicular here to this propagation and parallel to this path axis is coming out. This phenomena is called as polarization. Unpolarized light from a source which has a transverse vibration in all directions like this. So this is unpolarized light, and plane polarized light is this. The plane polarized light is one which contains transverse linear vibration in only one perpendicular direction to the direction of propagation. So this is perpendicular to the propagation direction. Plane of vibration, the plane containing the vibrations and directions of propagation is called as a plane of vibration. Plane of polarization, the plane perpendicular to the plane of vibration is called as plane of polarization. Polarides. Polarides are the device used to produce the plane polarized light. You can see here the unpolarized light is entering and one of the vibration only coming out, which is parallel to the path axis. Path axis is this one. So parallel to that one only it is coming out. In this case the polaroid is kept in this way where parallel here path axis is horizontal, the light is coming out which is parallel to it, that is red color. So polaroid are used for this purpose. So path axis of the polaroid, when an unpolarized light wave is incidence on the polaroid, the light wave will get linearly polarized with the electric vector oscillating along a direction perpendicular to the aligned molecules. This direction is known as the path axis of the polaroid. So here these two are the path axis we can consider. Uses of polarides: to control the intensity of a light in our sunglasses, window panes of our planes, etc. Second one, in a photographic cameras and 3D movie cameras, you might have seen while watching the 3D movies, you supposed to wear a particular glass which is made up of polarides. Polarization of light. Consider a sodium lamp S and the polaroid sheet P1. When unpolarized light passes through the polaroid sheet P1, only those vibrations which are parallel to axis of polaroid are transmitted. You can see here unpolarized light incidence. So here parallel to this path axis, light vibrations are only coming out, that are called as polarized light. The intensity of light is reduced to 50% of its initial value. Rotating P1 has no effect on the transmitted beam and the transmitted intensity will remain constant. Let an identical piece of a polaroid P2 be placed next to P1. The light from the lamp is reduced in intensity on passes through P1 alone. But now rotating P2 has a dramatic effect on the light coming from the P1. No change in intensity of the light when both polarides P1 and P2 are rotated together so that the axes are always parallel. Such cases, this intensity and this intensity will remain same. Intensity of a light gradually decreases when P2 is rotated, keeping P1 fixed. Intensity is reduced here. Okay. See here, it is a brightest, this is half of a brightest, and this is a light vibrations you can see, that is telling intensity decrease because of a rotation of the polaroid. As we rotate the P2, intensity of light varies as I is equal to I naught cos square theta, where theta is the angle made by the axis of P2 with the axis of P1, where I naught is the intensity of a polarized light after passes through P1. So here I naught is the, when axis of P2 is perpendicular to the axis P1, So if it is like this, perpendicular to this axis, so the intensity of light coming out is completely zero. Here polaroid P1 is called as polarizer and P2 is called as analyzer. This experiment confirms the transverse wave nature of a light, polarization of a light by scattering. The light from the clear blue portion of a sky shows a rise and fall of intensity when viewed through a polaroid which is rotated. This unpolarized light from a sun which has changed its direction on encountering the molecule of the Earth's atmosphere, that is a scattering of a light. Consider a single molecule of air in a path of the unpolarized light coming from the sun. So this unpolarized light coming from the sun falls on a single molecule. Let us take this is O2 or N2. The oscillating electric field of incident electromagnetic wave will set the electrons of the molecules in vibration, but molecule quickly re-emit the light at the same frequency as incident light. The scattered light will be polarized one. An observer at a right angle to the direction of sunlight will be seeing the horizontally polarized light, since no light is emitting along the line of other components. So observer is here. At other viewing angles, both components will be present. One will be stronger, so the light appears partially polarized. Thus, the process of scattering explains the polarization of a sky light. Polarization of a light by reflection. Polarization by reflection. Consider an incident unpolarized light AO strikes the reflecting surface at O. It is found that when the beam of ordinary light is reflected by the surface of transparent medium like a glass and water, it is partially polarized for some angles, and for one particular angle of incidence it will become completely linearly polarized. See here, the vibration of light are in all directions, and after reflection in the polarizing angle, so reflected light is linearly polarized. So that's shown here. So that angle, particular angle of incidence, is known as Brewster's angle. Whereas a reflected ray remains unpolarized, refracted remains unpolarized, and reflected is completely polarized for the Brewster's angle of incidence. The degree of polarization depends on the angle of incidence. As the angle of incidence is gradually increased from the small value, the degree of polarization also increases. At a particular angle of incidence, the reflected light is completely plane polarized. This angle of incidence is called as a Brewster's angle or a polarizing angle. So we can define the angle of incidence for which the reflected light is completely plane polarized is called Brewster's angle or a polarizing angle. If the angle of incidence is further increased, the degree of polarization decreases. Brewster's law. The refractive index of the reflector is equal to tangent of the polarizing angle. When an unpolarized light is incident on the boundary between two transparent media, the reflected light is polarized with its electric vector perpendicular to the plane of incidence. When the refracted and reflected rays makes an angle to each other, that is right angle 90 degree. From a Snell's law, it can be written as sin I into n1 is equal to sin r into n2, which can be written as n is equal to sin I by sin r, where sin angle of incidence is Brewster's angle IB divided by sin r. Since I is equal to IB, that is Brewster's angle, for the Brewster's angle of incidence, R plus IB by the geometry, it will become 90 degree. This angle plus this angle, it will become, total sum is 90 degree and this is 90. For a total one straight line, angle will become 180. So in that, this is 90 means remaining these two angles are making 90 degree. So R is equal to 90 degree minus IB. So N can be written as sin IB divided by sin 90 minus IB. This gives rise to sin IB divided by cos IB. That gives rise to tan IB. So refractive index of the reflector N is equal to tan IB. This will become the Brewster's law. The refractive index of the reflector is equal to tangent of the polarizing angle. Doppler effect in a light and Malus law. Doppler effect in a light. The change in frequency or wavelength of a light due to the relative motion between the source and the observer is called as Doppler effect in a light. That means apparent frequency and actual frequency are different. If there is no medium and the source of a light moves away from the observer, then later waves front have to travel a greater distance to reach the observer and hence take a longer time. The time taken between the arrival of the two successive wave fronts is hence longer at the observer than it is at the source. When a star source of a light of frequency nu receding with a velocity v radial, v radial is the component of the source velocity along the line joining the observer to the source relative to the observer. He is the observer and this is the source, which going here like this. Okay. So actual frequency is different, apparent frequency is different. Apparent frequency nu dash is given by nu dash is equal to c into nu divided by c plus v radial. Fractional shift in the wavelength is given by delta lambda by lambda is equal to v radial divided by c is equal to delta nu by nu. The phenomena in which the wavelength is increased and as such as a particular spectral line is shifted to the red part of the spectrum is called as a redshift. You can see here, as the object is moving away, apparent frequency is something else. See, it will become red. It is moving away means wavelength increase, therefore that shift is called as a redshift. When a star or a source of a light of a frequency nu approaching with a velocity v radial, see, he is the observer, she is the observer in the next case and it is approaching towards her. Yes, it is approaching towards her. Wavelength is maximum, red color is there, but as soon as it is coming closer to her, the frequency goes on decrease, color changes. That is, apparent frequency changes, hence the color changing. Here apparent frequency in this case is taken for this lady is nu dash is given by nu dash is equal to c divided by c minus v radial into nu. Fractional shift in the wavelength is given by same formula delta lambda by lambda, but here it is a negative v radial divided by c and that is equal to delta nu divided by nu. Here delta lambda by lambda is negative. The phenomena in which the wavelength decreases and as such as particular spectrum line is shifted to the blue part of the spectrum is called as a blue shift. You can see here red is actual one but it is appearing as a blue when it is closer, coming closer. Okay, that shift is known as from red to blue shift. That's why we are calling the name blue shift. Now these are the Malus law related. We want to know a bit about this polarites. This is the polarite which gives the unpolarized light into polarized light. If this one is the another analyzer tilted bit, so only a small amount of that one is coming out, and further if it is rotated, it's still small amount is coming out from this one. You can see here, if it is completely rotated with a polarizer, see, polarizer pass axis is this one and analyzer pass axis is this one, which is perpendicular to both of these two. No emitting light coming from the second polarite. Okay, so here in this case Malus law tells that the intensity of a polarized light transmitted through the analyzer varies as the square of the cosine of the angle between the plane of transmission of the analyzer and plane of polarizer. You can see in this diagram. So if it is rotated completely 90 degree, so what will happen? It will appearing as a dark. Yes, it will be appearing as a dark. Why? Because it is completely blocked that way. So this is given by the equation I is equal to I naught into cos square theta, where I is the intensity, that is I naught is the intensity of incident polarized light, I is the intensity of the emergent light from the second polarize or analyzer, theta is the angle between the path axis of the two polarites, analyzer and polarizer. The validity of a ray optics. The angular width of a beam of a light of wavelength lambda on account of a diffraction at a slit of a width a is given by theta is equal to lambda by a. If this beam is allowed to travel a distance z, linear width acquired by the beam is theta is equal to z into lambda by a. Let zf be the value of z for which the width of the beam becomes equal to a, that is zf into lambda divided by a is equal to a, or zf is equal to a square by lambda. Zf itself is called as Fresnel distance. Distance for which the ray optics is valid approximation is called as Fresnel distance. If the diffraction effect to be absent, z should be less than zf. That means it acts as a ray nature related. Above that Fresnel distance, the wave nature exhibit diffraction can be appear by that one. So question here, for what distance is the ray optics is good approximation when the aperture is 3 mm wide and the wavelength is 500 nanometer. Here the given width A is equal to 3 mm, which can be written as 3 into 10 to the power of minus 3 meter, and wavelength lambda is 500 nanometer, which can be written as 5 into 10 to the power of minus 7 meter. So Fresnel distance ZF is equal to A square by lambda, that is equal to 3 into 10 to the power of minus 3 whole square divided by 5 into 10 to the power of minus 7. This gives rise to 18 meter. So this is the good approximation for the ray optics. Above that one, it will be act as a wave optics. This example shows that even with the small aperture, diffraction spreading can be neglected for the rays many meters in a length. Thus, ray optics is valid in many common situations. Thank you guys.